Hi, Marianne. I'm super happy to have you in another episode of the Baddie and Me. How are you doing today?
Hello, Jesse. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really happy to be here with you, and I'm doing amazing. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm super happy to meet you finally because, as you know, as a Lebanese person, we always love meeting like other Lebanese people. And there's not that many Middle Eastern people that I know in crypto. So when I knew that you were Lebanese, I immediately got like really curious. Are you living in Lebanon nowadays?
I am. I'm living in Lebanon, born, raised, and based full time.
I love that. So I want to know, like, how did you start your journey in crypto? When I met you online, I remember it was during the whole abstract boom. And so how did you join crypto and what is your link with abstract?
So basically, I joined crypto by mistake. It was in 2021. I don't know if you know this app called Clubhouse, but it's basically there for anybody who doesn't know. It's basically very similar to Twitter Spaces, but it was just that. There was nothing else you could do other than go open spaces and speak and listen to people. And I used to talk about social issues. I used to talk about social issues in Arabic. So it was a completely different thing. And one time the country was, Lebanon always goes through a lot of really weird stuff. So we were going through a lot of the hyperinflation, the explosion, COVID, everything that was going on. So I asked one of my friends that I met through Clubhouse to help me find a part-time job because I wanted to apply to move out of the country. And he connected me with someone else who was also on Clubhouse, and they were building an NFT marketplace for the MENA region, for the Arab region. And so the first time we spoke, I was like, I don't even know what an NFT is. And this was like the beginning of everything. After that, I got super obsessed. I discovered crypto Twitter, I discovered CT, and quit everything else, quit uni. When I got that part-time job, I finished my first year of law and I never went back, never registered again in university, didn't continue, and just went all in to this into this field. And I've been here full time working on communities and marketing.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that's so interesting because there's a lot of people who got onboarded to NFTs and crypto via Clubhouse. I also was there in 21 and
Really?
that's how I learned about NFTs and started my whole journey in crypto. And same, like I joined and I never left the space. So it's really interesting to see that so many people came from there. You know, it was such a like funny time of life. There was COVID and everyone was just like bored at home. And it was like the only thing that we could do, right?
That's true. That's true. I used to spend all day on Clubhouse. I didn't do anything else. I used to speak about women issues in the Arab world. That is a big topic here. So I randomly discovered crypto and I got obsessed. But regarding abstract, I just discovered them. I was always a fan of pudgy penguins. I didn't have any pudgy assets before, but I was always like very fond of their community and the way that they do things. And so I had an NFT called Sugartown Auras, and apparently Sugartown Auras were eligible to get the Pengu airdrop. And so we had to go to the abstract Discord and register as an elite Chad, and then we would be able to get the Pengu airdrop. And this is how I discovered abstract itself. And I knew Frame. Frame was the blockchain that Saigar and the devs were building before it got rebranded to Abstract after Igloo acquired the company. So I linked both. Communities. There's Pudgy Penguins, Pengu, Igloo, which is Luca. I trust Luca with like all my heart. I know that everything Luca does, he does it with intent and with a lot of mindfulness, and he wants to win. And I started learning more about abstract. I was like, okay, this is interesting. There's Saigar, there's Luca. They're a bit related to Igloo, and I got all in. I was like, this is everything that I imagined the blockchain would be. They're trying to make it easier for people to join. They're trying to make the process super simple. And so I was like, you know what? There's no spaces about abstract. And I always used to host spaces. So before midnight, I was hosting spaces every single day, very randomly. It just happened randomly. I didn't have a set. I didn't have a microphone. I didn't even have like an image. I used to copy paste the banners from my guests and just post random announcements, and it got big. And I went from like 19 or 15,000 followers to like 40,000. It was huge. And now I'm just a community member, and me and GMB and a few other people were helping on the community side as well as much as we can on X. And that's it.
That's crazy. So actually, when you started making spaces around that whole topic, like abstract, and you started growing much more on X, right? Because like I
Yeah,
see
yeah,
a lot
yeah.
of people who are saying like now is the bear market. And if you want to grow, you should do spaces and you should be very active. Do you think that this is still relevant today?
100%. In 2022, this is how I got to 10,000 followers. I had another space. It was called Talk Web3 to Me. It doesn't exist anymore now, but we used to host every day too. And I used to like just go on other people's spaces, go on huge spaces, ask to be co-host. I think the only way you can grow is if you pick something and you just try to take risks, whether it's spaces or anything else. Spaces is like very simple. So anybody who wants to grow and has a knows how to speak in a smart way, knows how to either be funny or very smart or very clever or very degen or whatever, they will be able to grow on spaces. But the trick is to go to other people's spaces before starting your own if you're a small account. If you do that, it can 100% help. I still get a lot of followers after going to spaces. So this is how I got to 10K the first time in 2022. And the bear market was terrible back then. Solana was at $8. ETH got below 1,000. So it was terrible. And still I was able to grow pretty quickly. So spaces are awesome, but anything you want to do could be anything. Just take risks. The risk I took was going to very popular hosts and being like, "Hey, I think you should add me as a co-host." And then they were like, "Well, okay," and that's it. I had a very broken English back then, but by the way as well, so it was worth it.
I love it. Like you have to go and ask, for what you want. I think that's very important because there's so many people on CT. Some people will be more noticeable, and sometimes you just have to ask, but you're an amazing speaker, but you're also not so shy, right? So I feel like, or maybe seem not so shy, but like for a shy person like me, I'm always like, I try and go on spaces. I listen a lot, but I'm like, if I raise my hand, like I need to say something that's relevant to the topic. But I know some people join and sometimes just say like something that, is not relevant. Just like, hey, I'm here. I'm just like curious about the space and just wanted to say hi. And maybe that's smart actually.
For shy people, there's something I always used to say. By the way, when I was young, I was extremely shy to the point where I didn't even used to dare say hi to the relatives that used to visit us in our house. When our relatives used to come over, I used to hide behind my mom. This is how shy I was. And I just got out of it by training and talking to people and getting myself out there since I was a child. My parents, used to get me to go to like social groups and scouts. Scouts in Lebanon is a pretty big thing. It really helps with personality building and stuff like that. But when it comes to spaces, especially, for example, something that I used to struggle with is my broken English. But the thing that I always used to say when I started hosting and when I got more and more confident with my speaking is that spaces is the best tool because you can literally sit inside of your bed, have your blanket above your head, and just close your eyes and you can speak. And if you make a mistake, nobody will ever remember it. If you remember like those big spaces hosts that scream on spaces, they do a billion things. You don't even remember their names. Nobody will ever remember any mistake that you do except for you. They will remember what they're saying and what their mistakes were. But people will remember if you did something that they liked or if you said something that they liked. And sometimes if you don't want to add directly to the conversation, you can just be like, I appreciate you guys for hosting this. Really like the way that you spoke about 1, 2, 3. And then you could also ask a question. So there are a lot of ways to go about it and it's 100% worth it. And nobody cares about mistakes or accents or anything. To me, if you have an accent, it just means that you speak multiple languages, which is something to be very proud of, to be honest.
Yeah, totally. I agree with that. It's so cool to speak like multiple languages. But also, from what you're telling me, I feel like your journey is like you joined a crypto space, you started like talking on stage, and the fact that you started, hosting your own spaces, it's kind of like you became a community builder, right? Like you know how to, attract attention and get people to be interested in what you do. How many spaces do you host per week nowadays?
Currently, right now, we host 1 to 2 spaces a week. It's called Proliferation. It's just about anything that's going on, even like outside of crypto, anything going on in the world, AI, tech business, not politics at all. But now it's 1 to 2. At some point, I used to host 7 to 8 a week, but now I stopped that. So yeah, that's it. Regarding communities, yes, this is everything that back in 2021, when I got into Web3, I tried to mint an NFT, a project that was there. I tried to mint one and it was a scam. And then this is how my community building journey started because I discovered that there's something called community builders for those projects. And then I started helping multiple and I was freelancing. And there was one company that bet on me very early on. They offered me a good amount of money. And this is how my journey started. So it's always been all about community.
That's so amazing. And so I saw that now you are a co-founder of a business called Kiwi.io. Can you tell me more about that?
Absolutely. Kiwi is basically the mix of everything that I've been talking about right now, which is community. If you notice in Web3, there's a lot of marketing agencies that work with KOLs, that do go to market, that do acquisition. Acquisition is super popular in Web3. It's very easy to get hype. It's also very hard to go and raise and work with KOLs. So everybody's hyper focused on that. We're the complete opposite. We're the next step of the funnel. After you acquire, you have to convert and retain those community members. You have to prove to them that you care about them, that they're valuable, that they're human beings. You know, community management in Web3 was very ruined because everybody was like, I'm going to hire a random person. They're going to let the community play Gartic on the Discord server and Royal Rumble and give away whitelists and money. And this is what community building is. And it's not. And it's been proven. When you see all of the TGEs, all of the charts that are going down after launch, you will notice that there's a big problem with retention and keeping people around. So this is what we solve. We have our own system. We built our own tools, and we do community retention at a very high level. That's very different to what the Web3 standard used to be before. So we're changing that.
Yeah, I love what you're saying. I also saw one of your tweets recently where you were saying, like, if you want to grow community, don't give cash away. And I think that that's like really smart. Yeah, you can give cash away. You're going to get like people who are going to be interested, but you just want to have the free, like the cash, right? And after that, how do you keep them interested in what you're building? And as you say, like, there's so many like people who try to build communities and we're giving like money, I don't know, like whatever free stuff that people want to get. And usually it attracts farmers, right? And I mean, nothing wrong with farmers. I think like some people are farmers, but are also very interested in what someone is building. But usually there's like a tiny percentage of these people who are going to stick around when there's no money to give anymore, you know, when the community is out of like giving like free stuff away. What would be your three biggest tips for someone who's building a community and wants to, you know, attract people, but also retain them on the long run?
So to attract people, the first thing would be let them trust you before you try to have them trust your logo. So you right now, for example, if I was speaking to you out of my brand account and you were speaking to a logo, you wouldn't feel the same connection as if you were speaking to me and you know I'm Lebanese and we connected over that and we're girls. You know, there's different type of rapport that you can build with a person rather than with a logo. And so this is something that a lot of people on crypto Twitter started talking about. So shout out to them. But it's building your own founder funnel. If you're a founder, if you don't want to get somebody to be the face of the brand, if you want to be the face of the brand yourself, but to attract people, just be yourself, show yourself, go and try to connect with people, try to network. It's very similar to building friendships and relationships in real life, you know, and offer them something that they really want. Don't try to create a solution to a problem that doesn't exist. This is like the biggest issue that we have in business and in crypto as well. So try to find a real problem, try to find something people really want, and just try to attract them in a way that would get the people who really want to use your company to do so. So instead of giving away cash, you could give away something that would give them more perks inside of your platform if you're building a sort of platform, for example. And so this is how you would know who cares about you and who doesn't. And to keep them around, honestly, something really important I always talk about is stop trying to automate everything when it comes to retention, because special treatment for everyone is not special treatment at all. So if every single person is receiving the same personalized message, it's not personalized. If you're only changing the name, if you're sending the same message to everybody, it's not personal. So don't automate everything. Try to build one-on-one connections with those people, either in DMs or in calls. And then the last one is be patient, because building real community equals getting people to trust you. And you can't have people trust you in 2 weeks or else you'll get depressed. This is not how it works. It takes 60 to 90 days for a person to actually trust you and be a loyal member of your community and be an advocate for your company. So you have to give them time to actually really trust you and give value before you ask for things, because you see a lot of companies, they post announcements, and they expect engagement all the time. That's not how it works. You need to connect with your people, and it takes time, and it shouldn't scale at least not at the beginning.
You said also something interesting before that. You said that there's like this conversation on CT where people are saying that, people trust people. And so if you're a brand, have someone, who's the face of the brand who communicates with people. And I've been seeing that a lot. So when you say that, do you mean like, for example, let's take your brand, like Kiwi. Okay. If you want to reach out to people, you would rather reach out to people yourself rather than your like Kiwi Twitter account, right? That's what you mean by
I don't even have a Kiwi Twitter account.
okay.
I've never created a Kiwi Twitter account. There's one, but we don't use it. So everything happens from my account. And I'm pretty sure there's so many founders that have received cold DMs from my personal account. Cold DMs with follow-ups, by the way, from my account. I was like, hey, this is what we have, this is what we're doing, 1, 2, and 3. And then if it's warm leads, most of the clients that we have came after me having a personal relationship and connection with them. So even though we have BDs, we have a whole sales process, we have a team, we have everything, I still do a lot of the work myself because at the end of the day, this is what nobody will love your brand more than you do. So if you're not out there trying to show people how much you love it, how are you going to expect other people to trust you and be on your team, even your team members, not just the clients and the other people? So I'm a really big fan of founders being out there, and we can see like the latest example. It was a pretty funny meme because it didn't come off as it was expected, but the McDonald's founder, for example, was on camera trying to eat that burger, and then the Burger King founder did the same. So people are trying to catch up on that. And because of the AI age and everything, people want to connect with human beings. So this is a big, big, big hack. Yes.
Totally. Like people are looking for authenticity in the age of, AI, and everything is like so fake. And even like if you watch like a lot of content on TikTok, at some point it became like very clean and, making videos with sound and everything popping up. And I think like people started to feel anxious about all of that. And actually what you're also saying about, bringing authenticity in communities, like being the face of what you build, it reminds me of creators on TikTok who started their business themselves, right? And then they became the business. They didn't have like another account promoting whatever they were selling. Maybe they created it like when it was like a huge business, because of course you need to at some point maybe separate the business if it's like huge from your own face. But still, like, it really reminds me of that 1% multi-million billion dollar industry thing, what I mean?
100%, 100%, and there's a big, so of course, being out there has its pros and cons. So you lose a little bit of privacy. So it really depends. Some people really don't want that. And so I'm pretty sure they can find other ways to build a business and be super successful without being out there all the time. But for the people who really want to do it, it has so much upside. You have right now, okay, God forbid, if Kiwi were to disappear or to fail, okay? This is very unlikely, but let's give it as an example. Kiwi were to disappear, I still have my brand. I could still build something else and explain why Kiwi, for example, is not there anymore. I decided to move on to something else. And 1, 2, 3, I still have an audience that's going to listen to me and that potentially could be interested in the next thing that I'm doing, in the next venture that I'm starting. So having your own personal brand lets you have a base from which you can build stuff. And if you gain people's trust, if you don't scam them, if you're not a bad person, if you're not trying to lie to them, and if they know that you're transparent enough and they can trust you, you can build multiple ventures without extracting from them, of course. And they'll be there and you'll have an audience that will give you this little push. You're at least your first 5 customers, first 10 customers, first 20. So you'll never be starting from zero. And that's a huge thing right now, because right now you and I can build stuff by vibe coding them. I've already vibe coded multiple tools, many of them internal, one of them that could go out there. And so right now everybody can build things, but not everybody can be known. Not every product can be super popular. So marketing is everything right now.
Yeah, totally. And actually, speaking about that, I mean, I created the Jessyfries cabal. That was like last December. And I was like, why not? I have that brand. Let's make it fun. And then a few months ago, Wallet Connect was like, hey, could we like collaborate with you and get some of your creators, to make content for us and it's paid? I was like, that's so cool. And I was talking with my boyfriend. I was like, why didn't I ask me, why didn't I go to an agency? There's like a lot in crypto. And they were like, because it's you. And I was like, okay, yeah, makes sense actually. And then I started understanding the power of, like building that community, getting more people, sustaining the people that are inside. So I'm trying to be active. I tried to make some spaces, but I haven't been like doing them every week. Do you have any tips for me? For example, when you see Jessyfries Cabal, what would be your tips for me to like grow my community?
Tip for you to grow your community. What is the thing that you talk about the most? What is like something you really enjoy doing every day and talk about it on X?
I like to talk about, empowering women in the space. Fries before
Okay.
guys. That's the whole motto of what I do. If you see my content, it's really girly, hyper feminine, like pushed to the top, a bit like bimbo-ish. I play a lot with that and it makes people, some people understand, some people don't, but the people who understand think it's funny. You know what I mean? So there's a part of like entertainment, but speaking about an important message.
Okay, I love that. And I think there is a huge gap right now in crypto that you can be benefiting from, which is non cringe women content. So before, sometimes so for me, to reach the real women equality and gender equality that we need, you only reach gender equality when you say she's a pilot. You don't need to say she's a woman pilot. As long as you're saying she's a woman pilot, we haven't reached this chill spot where like everybody's the same. To get to that, we can't go on and create, for example, a Twitter space and call it women in Web3. We hate all men. We cannot do that. And so there's a big gap that you can benefit from, which is empower. Do you know Shelby Sapp on Instagram? So go and check her out. Shelby Sapp, she's a sales trainer and she only gets women on her team and they're closers and they go and close deals for their clients and they make a lot of money. And her content is all about training women to get better at sales. And it's super fun, super powerful. She has awesome cars. She has a pink Rolls Royce, which is all glittery. So she's very similar to your vibe. She's very like girly, feminine. She loves the color pink. She has a pink G wagon, and she trains women only. She doesn't like try to generalize. So I think you can do some sort of very cool content and have spaces for women. Try to have a group where you help women achieve some sort of skill, maybe becoming a content creator and helping them get paid, and focus on them without the cringe part of, oh, we're oppressed. We don't want, I mean, it's not cringe outside of CT, but sometimes on CT we need to think about it in a more powerful way rather than the victim way and submissive way, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I totally get it. Like instead of like just complaining, but bring solutions and maybe teach others to
Yeah,
achieve like, I don't know, wealth or whatever.
exactly.
I love that. I think like a lot of projects do that as well. I love like Shify, for example. She like Maggie brought a lot of women in the space. It's crazy. And
Yeah,
she's always like teaching them a lot of stuff. But I do get also the fact that we should stop, focusing on just like women in crypto and like it's just like people in crypto, like
yeah. And then you can choose to bring those women and help them make money by being content creators, for example, because now like you do content and you got deals and stuff like that. Nobody still does that right now. So before this goes live, try to start with it.
well,
But
actually, this podcast is also meant for the girlies. I'm sure some guys want to watch it because curiosity, but
yeah,
I want to bring people like you, people who've done things in the space so that women can feel inspired and get ideas. And it's also like, it's not like 100% educational, but it's the right amount, I'm not teaching
yeah,
people, bringing people who've achieved something and like you can learn from them. And I think a lot of people can learn from you. I mean, you're amazing and everyone should follow you. Like what
I
you're doing
appreciate you.
is crazy. So I have a question. I love the heart. So cute. So there are spaces to grow on CT. So you can host spaces, you can join spaces, but I see a lot of people also saying like you have to post like 3 to 5 times a day. I see you post a lot. What is your, take on that for creators that are still small, under 10K?
Under 10K, I think doing meaningful replies would benefit more than posting a lot. So you should post let's say I'm under 10K right now. What I would do is I would still post every day because you don't want a big account to come to me and see like I have 5,000 followers and my last post is like 2 weeks ago and all I do is retweet. It's not a good look. You want to have good, meaningful content that you're posting every day. For example, if you want to do video, you can start trying out with videos. For example, there's an awesome girl called Medusa. She just hit 10K, I think a few weeks ago or a month ago. She was doing videos every day, right? And she's blowing up. She's getting a lot of engagements. And she does a lot of replies as well. So under 10K, focus on replies, but not like the GMs or LFG or the weird replies that don't matter.
Since I started doing like more genuine replies, especially on their accounts where, you know, you want to get the follow back because they're like, and there's a lot of people replying under their tweets. So if you don't like say something different, they're not gonna notice you. And everyone should follow you. And also, like, if they're trying to grow a community, and they should like definitely reach out to you. I loved having this chat with you. And yeah. I'm going crazy. I don't know what